Yeah, we back.
What up, what up? It's the Chief, Kaseek Ortiz. Let me do that shit over again. I was looking at Mochaccino.
Oh, man.
All right.
Yeah, we back.
What up, what up? It's the Chief, Kaseek Ortiz.
Tyrant333. And this is Figure It the Fuck Out.
Yeah.
And today we're doing it again.
We'll do it again? All right. You good? I almost said yes,
Did I mess
sir.
it up?
No, you good, you good.
Oh, okay.
We can do it again.
No, because you looked at me and I thought I don't know.
No. I was about to say yes, sir. And I was like, I wanted to leave that shit out. I was trying to intentionally leave it out, but I almost accidentally.
It's like you were like trying to like, it was weird. It was like you were trying to fight yourself from saying something. Like, you're like,
right. Yeah, never mind.
All right, we're good. All right, let's do it. Yeah, we back.
What up, what up? It's the Chief, Kaseek Ortiz.
Tyrant333, and this is Figure It the Fuck Out. And today we got a good conversation yet again. It's a money conversation. We want to talk about a little bit about the bag and this music stuff. As being an artist, an entrepreneur, business owner, manager, we want to touch on all those little bases and kind of give you some information on that. So the first way we'll start it off is we're going to go into maybe some expenses that, a business owner incurs and an artist incurs doing this music thing that you might not be aware of. For some of you newer artists coming into this, you might not be aware of some of the stuff that comes into it. And at times, there's been some newer artists that we've both spoken to that it can be a little bit discouraging, when they hear about some of these different things that it could be.
Yeah, once they hear that price tag, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Dang, do I really want to do music?
Yeah.
Do I really love this?
And that's what they need to ask themselves. Because if you really want it, you're going to do it.
Yep, exactly. So I guess I'll start it off as being a business owner, and we started this studio back in 2019, 2020, pandemic hits, but some of the expenses, you got to pay your rent. If you have an LLC, you're going to have to pay $500 to the state of Massachusetts. I don't know how that is in other states, but that's how it is here.
It's definitely the most expensive, it seems like, in Massachusetts.
Yeah. You got utilities. We got something special out here in Fitchburg, Massachusetts called Unitil. Oh, boy. They be rocking us.
Yeah. Yes.
They're probably one of the most expensive utility gas oil companies in the nation, if you really look up the stats. And that's one of the costs. So
they be waxing.
Owning a business in this particular city can make it tough on a lot of business owners with that being said. But if you can get around that, if you live residentially, there's actually a program where you can get some type of fuel assistance, stuff like that. But if you have a commercial space, they don't allow you to get that. So
they don't?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm not even hip to that. That's news to me. Here we go.
So
Figuring it the fuck out.
Think about that. Another thing, when you go into opening your business, you have to make sure it's zoned. Call the zoning authority in your city and make sure that it's zoned for the proper business that you want to open. So when we looked at the location, first of all, we had to renovate the whole place. The old legend goes, like I always say, my brother says, stop saying it, but it was an old fish market.
It was a hole-in-the-wall fish market. They would sell aquariums and fish and exotics, whatever.
And, we looked at it for location. Came in, revamped it. It's taken about 3 to 4 years, but now it's really looking like a real polished place, a real polished recording studio. And there's still more to add to it.
Yeah.
But when you add some of the costs of a recording studio, you need microphones. You need equipment. You need technology as far as computers. You need the apps that run the computers.
Yeah.
And all these different systems, and he'll break into that too, as maybe on the engineer tip.
Yeah.
But you also need to have a high-speed internet. So that's the thing, in this day and age, 2024, people know a lot about that and
right.
Pretty much internet equipped.
It's almost like you're living like caveman style if you don't even have internet, which is hilarious.
A lot of people
we've been
don't use
doing that
cable.
a little bit here. We've been making things go sometimes here with, it's like, man, we don't have the internet right now. Let's just do this.
Yeah. Exactly.
But some of these softwares, it does kind of need the internet, not every software needs the internet, the Pro Tools doesn't necessarily need it, but there's a lot of updates, Waves, a Wave subscription kind of needs some internet.
Yeah.
At least to update and kind of keep things running smoothly.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it. You got to keep it high speed. We fuck with Xfinity. There's other people out there that have other type of internet provider services. There's some local ones out here that I would like to tap into, actually. There's some business owners that I met at some different conferences, networking with business owners who have their own internet service that they started. So that's pretty genius. I like people who break and go ahead of the curve like that.
Right.
So going back to the utility thing, if someone ends up coming up with that, hit us up at GGF. We're all for it, for the utilities. And, just being a business owner, a recording studio, that's some of it. There's not really a lot of, I guess, costs that you're going to have to pay every day, every month type stuff, like when you're dealing with a product, things of that nature. But it's really the equipment, the technology that you got to constantly replace and update, stuff like that.
Obviously, the biggest investment is really just the initial cost of renovations, first, last security type of deal for renting space, or if you're buying the property. That initial cost is probably a huge lump sum.
That's going to be the highest. And you're going to have to look at the investment and really be like, can I get an ROI on this in some day? Is this going to make me enough money where I get profit on the investment I put up? And that's where we looked at it. It was a studio, and then all of a sudden the world shuts down. So studios usually bring in revenue through recording people, bringing people in to record, get mixed and mastered, and the studio time. But we've been able to bring in other ways to bring in income, but it started with the studio time. Us bringing in as many clients as we can that are serious about this recording thing and doing that. Then it built into, we have a photographer, videographer, Jack Dawson, shout out to him. He was able to offer his services and blend those what we offer. So if you can find bosses that can sit at the table with you that have different services that mesh with what you already do, whether they're independent contractors, whether they come into business with you as a piece of your business or equity in your business, that's a benefit to you as a small business owner starting that whole thing off. And you also, going back to the location, whether you always got to look at the situation, whether you're renting or whether you're buying. If you're buying a location like Kaseek was referencing, you're going to have a lot more room to do what you want with the space. But when you're renting, you could do all that stuff. But what happens when that owner might sell the building? So that happened to us. We come and renovate the space, and then they sell the building. Is the owner going to be someone who's going to help you renovate? Are they going to put up some costs with you? Or are you going to build up their space for them, and then eventually they're going to come at you with a new lease or make you leave, or they have really their option what they want to do with you as a tenant.
Squeeze you out and have their own beneficial gain.
So be very careful of like going into a rented space and just dumping a bunch of money into it. But sometimes if you don't have the equity, you don't have maybe the credit to get into a property, that might be the best option for you at the moment. Just weigh the risk versus the gain that you can get out of that.
Right. And as far as like the equipment goes, on like the engineer recording side, artists themselves, just being strictly an artist, you have to consider the costs of what you would call a cost of operation or cost of doing business. And if you are an artist or a songwriter, your cost of doing business would be to either buy the instrumentals from producers, or you're buying the equipment and the software that you need so you can produce your own instrumentals for you to create a presentation of your own music. And either one of those facets, you're still going to end up spending some way, shape, or form. I think that, I personally think that recording studios at some juncture are kind of already like on a kind of place on a back burner, where recording studios aren't as big as they used to be. A lot of them are shutting down. A lot of legendary studios have been shutting down because everybody can kind of get great quality from their home. And I bring this up because it's kind of like if you're working out, you can have the membership to the gym, which is great. And that's where you can do like the bulk of your workouts. But you should always pay attention and have the gym at your house. And what I mean by the gym is having the studio at your house so you can at least practice, get better, and put yourself in a situation so when you do finally go to a reputable recording studio, you can actually, you know, give your best performance and then get higher quality if you don't know how to do it yourself. And so that comes with that cost of the software, whether it be Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, you know, Studio One, all these platforms, Fruity Loops, like all these things are great assets to have. And you'll need them, whether it's for, like I said, whether you're recording your own music, creating instrumentals to sell to other rappers, or you're a rapper who's trying to be fully self-made in that same note. And then you jump into things when you start getting better, you start falling in love with certain programs, you start falling in love with certain interfaces. Like at our studio, we use an Apollo Twin, and other studios, they might use something smaller. And you don't necessarily need to have the best equipment. All you need to do is get the equipment that you need at that moment just to get yourself by. And once you start learning and putting those shots up, that's when you start realizing, okay, I started off with like a really cheap ass, I want to say like a $25 microphone from Radio Shack. If I say my age right there, it makes me look like an old head. I grabbed my first microphone at a Radio Shack. I didn't know how to really record like that. So I actually took 2 big ass speakers that my mom used to have for her entertainment center. I put the microphone in a shoebox. I put the speakers to face towards the microphone, and I would rap that way right into Audacity, which was a free program. So, you know what I'm saying? Don't get so locked into like, oh, I need to have the best equipment because it's going to make me sound better. And it will make you sound better. But
home studios, I would say, like, what? And you can back me up on this if it makes sense on the money talk. So I would say a home studio probably costs a couple grand to get going.
Yeah, a real decent situation. Like I wouldn't really go to like the Walmart and buy yourself like a $200, $400 computer. Granted, you can get away with it. If you want to do what I just did with the whole bullshit microphone and you want to record on a program like Audacity that's not like super computer intensive, you could do something like that. You know, if you want to take it that next step up, you would want to at least spend at least $500-$600 on a computer, whether it be PC or Mac. I personally like to work with Macs, so either a MacBook Pro or an iMac that has an i7 Intel, you know, or more, i7 or M1 or.
Especially if you're a beginner, think about this. Like when you first bought a car, did your parents or did you buy a Mercedes, the first car?
Nah.
You know?
And if you did, you crashed out.
Yeah. So you don't need the $10,000 laptop computer set up right off the rip because you got to learn how to use all this equipment first. Right. And figure out what works for you. Like he was saying, what you like. And then you'll start to build off that and realize, all right, what I want to put up more money for.
Yeah. I'll be honest, my I think one of my first setups, I want to say it's my first setup because my first setup was a minute ago, so the prices were definitely different. But real talk, I grabbed a Rode NT1A, which was about $200 to $400. I grabbed a Focusrite Scarlett. I think that was like $80 to like $120. And then at the time I had bought a Mac Tower, and I got that shit on eBay for like $800. And then I bought the Pro Tools because I wanted Pro Tools. And at that time, that's when they were selling perpetual licenses. So I spent about $700 on that. And then I pretty much ran the plugins as it came with the software, because the software still comes with plugins. I learned on those, got super nice with those, and then I ended up discovering, you know, other plugins like Waves and Isotope and these other companies that sell really good plugins that can almost make your workflow a lot smoother.
Yeah, and going into the studio expenses when you're first starting it off, that's one option. The home studio we're touching on now. But if you're going to build a studio, maybe that couple thousand you're talking about, you're probably going to be looking times 10.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, home studio, you can kind of get away with spending about, you know, $2,000 or $3,000. Yeah. $4,000 maybe. At a recording studio, you're probably spending a lot more, anywhere from, you know, $5,000 to $10,000. And depending on your deals, you know, I grabbed my iMac. When I upgraded to my iMac, I spent about $1,500 just on the iMac. And then, you know,
and if you're going to do Yeah, yeah.
You know, even our Apollo Twin that I actually use now, I think that's like a $1,300 unit. So it's like
These
these are
computers,
expensive.
man, they update every year.
Yes.
Uh,
At this point they're starting to update every fucking quarter, and it's making you have to almost upgrade. They're really squeezing the shit out
Yeah.
of these older computers.
So iMac, the beefed up iMac is probably going to cost somewhere around $5,000, right?
Yeah.
$5,000-6,000.
Yeah, at the current standpoint right now, I mean, you could get like a Mac Mini or something like that, which could do some damage. But when for newer artists coming into it, you kind of actually have to look at it as more of a facet of not just having the recording side, but you want to know how to do the content side.
Yeah.
And recording music is one thing, and then editing video is a completely different.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that extra processing power, a computer that could give you that. So you don't want to spend $4,000 on a computer that can only record you, and you can only do, minor stuff for video editing, when you could have just spent $5,000 and got a better computer so you could do it all.
As far as building the studio, it all depends. Every situation is different. We wanted to build a studio like this right on Main Street.
Yeah.
People can drive by it every day, see that bear, see our logo, tap into what we're doing. But you could do it at your house. You could do it at a location where a studio is already built, and you don't have to customize and build the studio the way you want. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get that done.
Which literally could be like a blessing in disguise, because I'd be like, it's super awesome to have it already there, but obviously if it left that area, there's a good reason. Whether the people were doing bad business or the location itself just wasn't able to bring people.
And he's talking more when you're inheriting someone's studio, and stuff like that. That could come with a whole nother line.
Yeah, because the location definitely matters.
Yeah, so that's some of the costs, is the business of the studio. It's really equipment. You're looking at rent, you're looking at utilities, the basic stuff, and it all is different depending on each studio.
Yeah,
what city you live in, what kind of deal you got, how much you're paying on rent, all those different costs that incur, and how much are you really updating your equipment. Some people can spend a lot of money on this every year if they want to, and that comes into another thing we're probably going to touch on a little bit, is the write-offs. Some people are buying as much equipment as they can because they're going to know they're going to write it off.
Yes, I would definitely like to bring that up into this, because, as much as we talk about these expenses, you're also operating at a business level. And if you're looking at yourself as a business, these things are write-offs.
Yeah.
And to give you like the bare bones, like, a write-off is basically an expense that you are spending to operate your business, and you might not get all that money back, or not even half of that money back, but you'll get a percentage of that money back. So, you might be spending $1,000, but at least you have, maybe $100 coming back to you, or $200 for a business expense.
Yep.
On top of that, being an artist, for example, I'll even break down what you see here on the camera. This microphone here is a business expense that we are using to do this podcast series for y'all. So this is a write-off. The mic stand is a write-off. If we bought the couch, that would be a write-off. The table, the lights that we might be using, that's a complete write-off. We're still paying for it. It's not like this shit is free. We're paying for it.
Yep. But
it's still a percentage that you'll actually get back at the end of the year on your taxes. The interface that we record on to do these videos, that's a tax write-off. The cables, the clothing we wear, because now I am on camera. If I felt like going to buy a grill and I only wanted to do this video with grills on, that's a tax write-off. That's part of my costume. That's a part of the uniform that you can use. And as long as you have something to show for it, not just receipts, but, you have something to show for it, then you'll be able to use that as a tax write-off. I mean, even the meals, like, we can go call it in right now and have Chinese food delivered to us. It's a business expense, because technically what we're doing is not just a podcast, but essentially me and him are basically documenting a meeting.
Exactly. And then when you travel as a team and as a unit, that's a write-off, depending on if it's for business. And what we usually travel, it is for some type of business. We're meeting some type of contact. We're networking with somebody. And
plane
we're
tickets,
be doing a lot of
the
more
Airbnb, the cars,
the
rooms that you might stay in, room and board, feeding, all that stuff is a tax write-off.
So get with your accountant, people like that, who can tell you all these different things, and look at your finances and what you're spending, and maybe you can get some money back, and it's not all just wasted bread. You know, it's good to always.
You're already going to spend the money anyways to do this shit. So why not spend it and actually look at yourself as a business? And unfortunately, in America, we kind of, a lot of people don't understand that you literally come out the womb already a business. You already have a social security attached to your name, which automatically the America looks at you as a business.
Yeah. And as a business, you get to tap into your city resources and look at what different grants are available for your business structure and for your type of business, especially if you're a minority business owner, woman business owner.
Yeah.
I think they got stuff for, the LGB people and stuff like that. And
the alphabet people.
Yeah. And, they got all that out there. So you really just tap into the resources you can get. And there's there can be some money to be had out there that can help you really upstart your business.
And even being a minority, I'm not sure if you said that, but being a minority business owner.
Yeah. Yep.
You get stuff too. I wish that in this episode, I'll let the people know that I wish on this episode that I could speak more for artist funding, because artists can also get funding just like a business can with, what you want to call it, like business credit cards, because America will give you more money as a business than they would probably your personal credit.
10 times more credit limits, higher credit limits as a business than you would as a individual applying for credit. So
yeah,
but you also got to make sure, the people out there, the swipes, the sweats out there, they'll think that you can just make a random business and go do this stuff. You got to have to show some type of revenue that you're bringing in. You can have a relationship you've already built with a bank and still go get some type of business credit, business loans, but it's better when you have the revenue to back that, because they want to look at your usually last 2 to 3 years tax returns. They want you to have a relationship with the bank, which means put $250, $25 in the savings account, and then have some money in the checkings account before you go to apply for these credit cards and loans. Keep that in there for a good year or so, 6 months, and show that you have the relationship. And then that can help you get more funding to help build your business right there also.
And I'll say this just because I know that if artists are watching, they might be wondering, but I wish I knew exactly the details, because it's actually something I'm going to be pursuing myself whenever I have the actual time to like get around to it. But supposedly artists can actually get funding for their career without actually having all that, having the relationship with the bank, which is crazy. And supposedly they actually do give it. And I'm not sure if there's any personal guarantees or if it's based off of credit, but I've been hearing a lot of artists being able to apply for these grants and these loans. Well, more so grants. They're getting these grants or working directly with the bank without actually having much to show for it.
Well, what they do have to show for it, and this is just based off what I've gathered, is that a lot of these artists have a big or a very good and lucrative catalog of music. So they have the numbers to show that they're getting paid this much revenue, usually a quarter, from their streams or whatever they do off their music, where they can go and have that backing. Like they can go to their distributor, like a Symphonic or a TuneCore, and be like, yo,
which is also a tax write-off.
Give me a loan because you see I'm bringing in 15 bands, 20 bands, whatever it is a quarter. So give me a loan based off a portion of what you can assess that I make in a quarter.
Right.
Just like another play is, I'm just going to throw this out here. All those people in the stock market, if you have a big portfolio, say you got 50 bands, 100 bands, you could borrow against your portfolio even and get a loan that, you can use to make things happen. Then put the money back on your portfolio once you make the play. So there's a lot of different ways that you can tap into the money as a business owner. You just got to follow a lot of these different people, do your research. Look at that show Inside the Vault too, on Earn Your Leisure. That's a good one. They drop some gems on there. But once you really start to connect the dots, you see that there's an unlimited amount of resources and way to go get this money, especially in this day and age of 2024. There's a lot of ways to bring in revenue. So we started off as this recording studio. You see how the shit has happened. Like Kaseek was saying, recording studios started to die and everything like that. We had other services that keep us afloat. So, he mixes and masters. He has that. He records people. You got Jack, who does the filming and some of the photos for people.
Right.
I know a lot about the music marketing, so I can help people with that on a project management basis. And we've held events here. And we've really figured out different ways over the past couple of years to really
Right.
tap into different forms of revenue.
And a lot of these things, we actually don't even have to be in-house to do it. What I mean by in-house, we don't even have to have the brick and mortar to do it. I can offer my mixing and mastering services to artists that record in their home studio who don't even live in my state. You can offer digital marketing to recording artists or other, businesses without actually having to know what's in their state.
Exactly. This digital marketing, this internet has made it a lovely place.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to tap into money. Also, as a recording studio, we've kind of slacked on this aspect of things, but you want to run the merch up. You want to have various forms of merch. You want to bump that out to all the people who come in and record, and also the people who follow your music and what you're doing in the movement.
Yeah.
That's another way you can tap into revenue there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of it. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2 to this at some point.
Yeah, but as a business, going back into what I was saying, as far as the direction we were headed, we saw that recording studios were morphing. So we realized this is going to be more of a hub.
Yeah.
With all this different ways that you can get money off online, just to talk about some of them. There's YouTube ad revenue. Then as an artist, you could possibly have your music.
Yep.
As a business, you have your merch. Then you're getting paid from subscribers when you live stream. They're offering you donations.
Right. Publishing, if you get syncing onto TV shows, syncing into elevator music, syncing into video games.
Oh, talking on syncs, me and Ben Grizz actually went out to a Taxi Music Conference out in California. And that was when our minds really started to turn on all the different ways that you can make money off this music. And the syncing is something incredible. We saw people there that were 65 years old making 6 figures off music. You'll never hear their names, see their names
right
on the billboards or on the charts or anything like that. But they're living comfortably off music because off of sync licensing.
Yep, and their name's attached to it, and they have the relationships.
They get it with the different publishers and the different people who are developing these relationships for movies, TV shows, video games, commercials, you name it. And they get an instrumental in there, or they get a beat, or they get some type of song, or just even a little snippet of their song played. And that brings them recognition with the companies, with different brands, and puts them in a whole different market of getting checks. And when you get into that, there's exclusive deals where you can only work with one publisher, or for that song, you license with them, sync license, or some of them let you license with a bunch of different music libraries. So you got to be careful on those details too. But that's just some of the ways you can tap into some of this money on the music tip.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways. If you're hungry, you can eat.
And, TikTok, I saw the creativity program rolling out. They're paying people for views now. I think it was like $1 per 1,000 views. So if you're running it up on there, you're going viral. People are getting paid off Facebook, the Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, so they're making it a habit to go viral these days.
Yeah.
And really bring that money and touching.
In this moment with TikTok possibly getting banned, they're pushing that one real heavy.
And again, that's a whole money grab.
Yeah.
They're trying to make, as we speak, trying to make sure that just gets sold to a U.S. company. There's too much money involved for them to want to just get rid of the whole thing. So,
and if they entice the creators to really get on this platform and create, you're not going to want this platform to go away.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's the marketing in it. It's like, hey, we're going to pay you to create what you're already creating anyways. And I hope you vouch for us.
You see people quitting their jobs just to become creators.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a beautiful thing. I like to see that.
Same.
Especially you can use your mind to make that dollar. And, that's something powerful. But we're probably going to do a part 2 to this, right? For right now, this is Figure It the Fuck Out, Money Conversation. We'll be back at you with another one soon.